We have been talking about this for months, and the rumors have seemingly been backed up what we have talked about on this show. And the NBA Board of Governors, which they call it because they weirdly don't want to be called owners anymore, they're going to vote next week for expansion. And the note on this is they're going to specifically vote on Seattle and Las Vegas. They're not opening up to any other teams, reportedly. These are the two cities. It sounds like the NBA is just going to almost make it happen, and they're just making the owners vote on it for it to be official. But it sounds like by the start of the 2028-2029 NBA season, the Supersonics will be back. Las Vegas will have a team, and either New Orleans, Minnesota, or Memphis will move to the Eastern Conference.
And of those three, it sounds like it's really going to be between Minnesota and Memphis. But I don't think either team is just going to be like, yeah, we'll gladly go to the Eastern Conference.
Oh, I disagree. I think Minnesota, we will gladly go to the Eastern Conference because they will not have to go through Victor Wembanyama, Nikola Jokic. Houston's going to get better. Cooper Flag and the Mavericks, who I think will be perennial final contenders by that time. Whether the Suns try to make a move or not in the next couple of years, we'll see. I think the East, I know the Pistons are young and they're up and coming. Boston probably still has 3 to 4 good years left. Same with the Knicks. But it will not be viewed like the way the West has. The West has literally been the better conference in the NBA for the better part of 2 decades.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just going to be that simple to get a team to move conferences.
I think it will. I think if Minnesota says, Adam Silver, will you please move us to the East? I think it's going to be very appealing for the NBA because what did you get? A T-Wolf Spurs NBA Finals. And what if Wemby and Ant aren't even in their 30s yet?
Yeah, true. But honestly, from what I heard, the price tag for an expansion team is going to be like $7 to $10 billion.
Is that per team or is that combined?
I believe it's per team, from what I read.
That should be enough. And here's the other debate on this: people debated about, are they going to shrink the season? And the NBA owners are not going to go for it because they're going to lose when they go from 72 games or 60 games. You're going to lose 5 or 10 home games a year. To me, the revenue you're going to make from expansion and from the TV rights of you getting a better product, because you have good paying cities. We know the Supersonics will sell out immediately. Vegas, I don't think, is the market that it used to be, but we'll see how it does for the NBA, but it's still Vegas.
Well, let me push back on that because the Las Vegas Aces have done really well since they came in for the WNBA. You've got the Vegas Golden Knights in the NHL. The Raiders are there. You've got the A's coming to Vegas. Yeah. It only makes sense. I will say this. Of course, I'm okay with Seattle getting a team. I don't love Vegas getting a team, but I understand it. What about Nashville? I'd love for Nashville to get a team.
How about the Grizzlies just move there?
Well, from what I understand, the reason Nashville can't get an NBA team is because of the Memphis Grizzlies and them being able to block that.
Again, you would know more about that than me. I mean, Memphis doesn't really have a pro sports team outside of the Grizzlies. I think Seattle and Vegas makes sense. It's going to happen. I do not think they should expand anymore. I think 32 is the max. I don't think you go to 34. If you go to 34, then sure, maybe Nashville gets talked about. And again, I think you could explore another city than Vegas, but Vegas has always been rumored for the NBA. And the interesting thing about it will be, will LeBron James, depending on if he's retired by then, which we all think he probably will be, or not, is he going to want to stick around so he can become a player owner type and maybe own the Vegas team?
I guarantee you there's going to be people lining up saying, I'll be the owner of the Vegas team. I'll be the owner of the Seattle team. Um, Plus, Seattle recently got an expansion team in the NHL with the Kraken, and
Yeah.
they are doing really well.
Now, here's the thing. I don't know this. Maybe you do know this. The guy that owns the Thunder, was he the original owner of the Supersonics?
No, Howard Schultz was the owner of the Supersonics. He sold them to Clay Bennett and an Oklahoma City based group.
So maybe the guy who used to own the Sonics, maybe they want him to come back as owner.
Oh God, I do not want Howard Schultz back as the owner of the Seattle Supersonics. No
You know,
way.
or who knows? There was that rumor out there for a little bit that Mark Cuban was trying to get an investment group to buy back the Mavs. Maybe he pivots.
Maybe. That would be an interesting sight. But dude, think about this when the new Seattle team comes in. That first game between the Supersonics and the Thunder is going to be absolute must-see television.
So I think there's a chance you make that the Sonics' first game back, no matter how bad the Thunder are at that point. If SGA disappears off the face of the planet and something happens, you could always do the Lakers, obviously big brand. Again, I think the Spurs are like those would be my three choices: Thunder, Lakers, Spurs.
Yeah, I think for Vegas, it probably would make sense to do the Lakers. But
yeah, because here I don't think Steph Curry will be around anymore, so I don't think Golden State. If the Clippers are good, maybe you do the Clippers.
Maybe, but it's the Lakers. They're gonna have Luka, so maybe New York.
Yeah,
but because it seemed like here's the interesting thing, like with the Cavs. Remember the first game back for LeBron as a Cavalier? It was on national television against the Knicks.
Yep.
The season after, when we had our ring ceremony and the banner raising, it was against the Knicks.
That's a good point because obviously the Knicks are a huge draw. And I know there's all this thought about, the NBA could do split it by divisions, 4 teams per division. If you're going to do it that way, I said it last week, make divisions matter. Make the top 4 seeds, in each conference division winners.
Yeah. You mean like how the NFL does it?
Yeah, and like baseball does it. Top 4 seeds are division, and then you'll have 4 wild cards. I think they should shrink the postseason. They'll never do it. I would shrink it down to 6 teams per conference. You get 12 teams total and no play-in tournament. That's just me because I don't. I know we've had some miracle 7-8 seed runs here recently, but it's not common in the NBA. A 7 or an 8 seed has never won the NBA title. Of course, it's a first time for everything. There's only been 1 6 seed in the history of the NBA that's won the title.
Yeah, you're right. It's not common. And for God's sakes, like who expected the Indiana Pacers to go on their miracle run, and they were a number 5 seed.
Yeah. So, okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the Houston Rockets, the team who before the season, if you recall, Josh Ungar, somebody on this set predicted them to be hosting the Larry O'Brien Trophy at the end of the year, and then Fred VanVleet decided to tear his ACL, and my whole prediction went to hell. And supposedly this whole team went to hell because since the trade deadline, Kevin Durant's out here tweeting about players on his burner account. Ime Udoka, who used to be a tough guy, has no control of this team, and they feel like a team that has just sort of floating in the wings, but they've lost their identity.
Yeah, and it feels like they are so Kevin Durant dependent that like Amen Thompson, who we thought was a budding superstar, is just kind of average now. I'm not that high on Jabari.
I wouldn't say him as average. I think he's a very good player. I think he's had a regression this year, but I don't think it's fair to call him average.
But like, I would say,
He's not playing at the level that we both thought he could get to, which would be a top 5 player. I think he's more, to be honest with you, I think he's more in that Bam Adebayo range. Very good player, can be a number 2, can be a number 3, but will not be a number 1.
I feel like the reason I'm calling him a little closer to average is because, like, he's not consistently putting up the numbers we expected him to. It feels like he has one of those games, but then he'll go through a stretch where it's like, okay, he got like 10 points this game, or does that make sense?
I mean, this year he is averaging 18 points and 8 rebounds a game, which is above average. I mean, it's what Bam Adebayo averages.
True. Like last night, he had 19 for the Rockets,
Yep.
who lost to the Lakers 100-92. They play each other again in Houston on Wednesday.
And what could very well be a preview of the first round. And if you look at the Western Conference standings, it's the Lakers, it's the Rockets, it's the T-Wolves, and it's the Nuggets, all fighting for that 3 through 6 spot. Somebody trying to avoid OKC in round 2, and somebody trying to avoid San Antonio in round 2.
Yes, because right now the Lakers are a game and a half up on the Rockets for that number 3 spot. And I believe that if the Lakers win that game tomorrow, they would own the tiebreaker.
You were correct. They would own the tiebreaker over Houston and Denver. I know that for sure.
Okay, so the winner of tomorrow's game in Houston will own the tiebreaker because the regular season series is tied 1-1, and tomorrow marks the final regular season meeting between the Lakers and Rockets.
So it's funny because I think the only team the Rockets even have a remote chance to maybe beat in the first round is the Lakers. Because I don't think they can beat Denver, and I certainly don't think that they could beat Minnesota.
I think they have a better chance of beating Minnesota.
Really? Because I think Anthony Edwards would do to Kevin Durant what he did. Now, I know Ant's out right now, which Minnesota could drop your order. Maybe they drop to the 6th seed because Ant's going to miss 1 to 2 weeks. But I think when they get to the playoffs, remember a couple years ago when Phoenix came in with all that momentum and Minnesota dog walked them in 4 games? I feel like they do the same thing to Houston.
Minnesota hosts Houston on Wednesday, March 25th.
Because the one thing we do know about Anthony Edwards, we both have said this now over the last couple of years, he front runs.
Yes, he does. And that's why you and I have both been saying, can we please get Anthony Edwards a running mate? And it feels like the Timberwolves have not done that.
I'm very interested in the Western Conference playoffs. Again, the one series that I really want to see is Denver, San Antonio. I hope it happens. And the weird thing about the NBA this year, if you look at the standings, really all 10 teams are locked into the playoffs. No one's going to move up and get into that playing spot. And I think 7 through 10 is mostly locked up.
Yeah. And with the Rockets, it feels like since Fred VanVleet is out, they have to play without a point guard.
They don't trust Reed Shepherd, who was supposed to step into that role, and I said I thought he could do it. Apparently, he can't.
Yeah, and Kevin Durant, I think in his post-game press conference was like, I don't want to be the primary guy at the end of games.
No, well, he basically said, I don't want to be the primary ball handler.
Yeah, his teams are now starting to double team him like
which he never was. Even in OKC, who was the primary ball handler?
It Russell was Westbrook.
In Golden State, who was the primary ball handler?
Steph.
In Brooklyn, I would argue the primary ball handler was Kyrie or Harden before Durant. And in Phoenix, maybe he was a little bit, but it was mostly Chris Paul when he was there for a little bit. And then Devin Booker turned into that guy because they used Durant more off the ball. Ahmed Thompson's not really going to be that guy. I wonder if you use some of Sengun's skills, because he's very similar, I would argue, to Nikola Jokic. I think Sengun's a star on the rise. But have him
Sengun
bring the
is
ball
out
up.
with it. He was out for Monday's game against the Lakers. We'll see
Right.
if he's back for the rematch on Wednesday.
But I think if he's back, I think that you have Sengun be the primary ball handler in late game situations. Because it can't be Durant. And Reed Shepard, for some reason, just wants to shoot the ball.
Yeah, the Rockets make no sense.
So the reason why I love them coming into the year is because I projected Fred VanVleet to be their primary ball killer. Then I projected an increase from a bed. And I also projected Jabari Smith to break out, and he hasn't really done that. So all my projections for Houston, which also included, San Antonio is going to be good. I didn't think Stephon Castle would basically turn into this incredible running mate next to Wemby this quickly. It was sort of, I think Oklahoma City's going to have a good regular season, not great, and yet they're having a great regular season again. So all of those factors is why, yes, I have moved off Houston.
Yeah. Like in their last game, let me talk about the Lakers for a second because LeBron only had 18, but Austin Reeves had 15. Luka had 36. I think that's kind of what the Lakers want is for Luka to be the primary guy and Austin Reeves to be that kind of secondary guy and LeBron to be that third guy. I think this is how the Lakers want it to look.
I'm here to say this. That game Saturday night was incredible. Maybe the game of the year. What is about the Nuggets? The Nuggets always play great games. Win or lose, I swear they are maybe the most entertaining team to watch because they're always in a game at the buzzer. But if the Lakers do not play Houston in the first round, so if they were to play Denver or if they were to play Minnesota, they will be going home in no less than 5 games because Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves together in a playoff series, I don't think is enough alone to beat teams. And teams will hunt Luka on defense, and teams will hunt LeBron on defense because he can't play defense for 48 minutes anymore. And those 3 guys cannot combine for the majority of their scoring. And they get nothing basically from the bench outside of maybe a 3 here or there from a Luke Kennard.
Yeah. I mean, DeAndre Ayton is their starting center, and in 27 minutes, he only gave them 7 points.
I would argue next to Anthony Bennett, he is the most disappointing number 1 overall pick in recent memory. Because the Wizards drafted that kid, or I'm sorry, it was the Hawks, the foreign kid, a couple years ago, the guy that went before Sarr. Nobody,
Zachary Ricochet.
yeah, nobody expected him to be a good player. DeAndre Ayton was viewed as one of the Suns' best players, and then he got into that fight with Monte Williams and Game 7 when Luka Doncic basically sent that version of the Phoenix Suns to the shadow realm.
Yeah. No, but you're talking about their bench. In the game against Houston, Rui Hachimura, 23 minutes, 6 points.
There you go.
Jackson Hayes only had 7 points.
And they can't rebound. I mean, Hayes and Ayton are their bigs. They don't rebound.
Oh, I'm sorry. I screwed up. Jackson Hayes in 12 minutes had 0 points. It was Jake LaRavia that had 7 points. And then Luke Kennard, 17 minutes, 0 points.
Again, you can't win a playoff game that way. You can't win a playoff series. You may be able to win 1 or 2 games. I think Luka could will them to maybe a 1-round playoff win. Again, depending on who they play. That Rockets-Lakers series smells like a 7-game stink show if it comes to fruition.
Yeah, I don't like a Rockets-Lakers series.
I mean, it'll be entertaining. You got LeBron versus Durant. The NBA loves to promote the old people.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah, that's why the Rockets played the Lakers on Christmas this season. I saw that. I'm like, seriously? Like, couldn't we have done something different?
I'll say this though, I do not think yet Houston should regret or think they made a mistake by trading away Jalen Green for Durant. I still think it was the right move at the time. Unfortunately, circumstances are what they are this year. I think next year Houston will be better.
You talk about Reed Shepard, 31 minutes off the bench, only 11 points. The only other bench production they got was Dorian Finney-Smith, who had 8 points.
And back to the Lakers real quick. Is Austin Reeves maybe the best undrafted player in the last decade?
Oh, he's got to be. I mean, like I said, he had 15 points. That may not sound great, but
the other night he had 30.
Yeah.
And you know what's weird? And it goes back to the fifth thing. So Luka and Austin Reeves play well together. LeBron and Luka play well together. Reeves and Luka play well together. So the duos, all of them together, play well. It's when all three of them are on the court together, they don't play well together.
Right. Against Denver, he had 32. Against Chicago, he had 30. Against Minnesota, he had 31. And against New York, he had 25.
I mean, Austin Reeves is basically what the Lakers hoped Kyle Kuzma would be.
Oh my God! Kyle Kuzma, I forgot I think he's with the Bucks.
He was with the Wizards, and I think you're right. He did go to Milwaukee, who, ironically, the Cavs play tonight, and they're in a. I don't know what Milwaukee's going to do. I know this is completely off topic, but they are stuck, and they are like. I don't want to say that they're the Steelers because they're worse record-wise than the Steelers, but they're like, we're going to try to be 500 every year. Yay! We still have Giannis to sell tickets.
Yeah, we lost to them in Milwaukee last time, literally by like a fingertip. It was like 118 to 116. So this is the fourth and final meeting of the season between the Cavs and the Bucks. Honestly, I don't really care. I had it set to record on my DVR, but then I saw that we'll get to this later, that the World Baseball Classic final is on tonight, and I'm like, nah, I'd rather watch that.